So DTTC, as I said, was designed for severe kids. Think about this. I'm at Washington. We're getting these really severe kids. I go to Mayo. We're getting real severe kids. And there wasn't much in the literature about these kids. So I was having to figure out a way to help them. And I wanted to think about what's really my goal. And it was to improve the efficiency of neural processing for the development and refinement of motor plans, especially for the specification of movement parameters, and then also to provide strategies to enhance both the generalization or learning as well as the habituation. Because you're going to see a child tomorrow that's pretty accurate, but he's really thinking about it. It's not habitual yet. It's not automatic. So we have to work on that too. There are some distinguishing elements of DTTC that I think make it different from other methods of speech sound disorder treatment. It's based, this one isn't so different, based on auditory and visual stimulation, so it's basically an integral stimulation approach, what we've done in speech therapy since the 50s. Listen to me, watch me do what I do. What's different, what's distinguishing about DTTC is that the focus of treatment, they teach you if you're giving these workshops, you have to say something 9 times before people really remember it. So I think I'm almost to those 9 times, right? The focus of treatment is on the movement gesture rather than the sound. That's distinguishing DTTC from other treatments. It emphasizes the shaping of movement gestures, not individual movements, but these movement gestures at the level of the syllable. Employs both visual and tactile cueing, emphasizes the use of continuous movement transitions at the level of the syllable, and avoids any segmentation of that movement transition within the syllable. You never want to separate phonemes, which are mental constructs that are segmental, because the focus is on the movement gesture for the acoustic realization of that phoneme string. It's different. You see that? So you would never go, we're going to make this easier. You can't do boy, so we're going to make it easier. Go ba, ba, ba. Now we're going to go oi. Now probably if they have a vowel distortion, they're not even going to do it in isolation anyway. But you go oi, ba, oi, ba, oi. Look at the difference if I take the voice out. Watch my lips. Can you all, I better back up here. Watch. Versus the target, which is we're taking 2 wrong movement gestures and we're saying to this poor child, use your inefficient motor planning system, just put those together. And yet, I've done that. I was taught to do that in grad school, and it works really well when you want to make distinctive features salient for a phonology problem. But with kids who have praxis problems, you're actually making it harder. So you never want to do that. Think about it this way, too. When we think about, you hear about allophonic variations of phonemes. This relates to the fact that phonemes are produced with different movement gestures depending on the co-articulatory context. So if we think about the phoneme, and we ignore the fact that there are allophonic variations, we're really making poor decisions, right? So watch me say the phoneme B, represented by the grapheme. So this is it in the word boy. Watch my lips. This is it in the word B. They don't even start in the same place. So if you're focusing on the movement gesture, you're going to get that child in the initial position. You're going to improve proprioception by having them stay there. If they're going to say B, we get our lips a little retracted. We're not going to have them go, because that's not how we say B. It's inefficient. We never do that. We go B, right? So if you're teaching, your treatment is focusing on the movement gesture, you have to get them in the right movement for the upcoming vowel, the right gesture, have them stay there a minute to improve the proprioceptive processing, and then move through the syllable. And we'll have practice in doing this tomorrow. This is just an example for the point I'm making here. DTTC emphasizes practice and incorporates principles of motor learning that help the acquisition of motor skill, but also the generalization and habituation. And there are many techniques that I built into DTTC to facilitate proprioception because I'm thinking about my goal. And if I'm going to improve motor learning, I've got to start at the beginning, which is the proprioception. Right? So we'll talk about how we do that tomorrow. So the basic hierarchy, as we said, is this direct imitation to imitation to, well, we always start with direct imitation if they can't do it. And if I've chosen that as one of my stimuli, then likely they aren't going to do it. So you go back to simultaneous production until they reach a certain criteria, which we'll talk about. Then to direct imitation until they reach a certain criteria. Then imitation after delay. Then spontaneous production. So that's the basic hierarchy. But it's really a lot more complicated than this because there's a lot of back and forth here. If the child meets the criteria at simultaneous and you move to direct, they may falter, in which case you have to go back and try again. When they're going from direct imitation to the delay, there's almost always faltering, and you have to go back. But there's intermediate steps we'll talk about as well, and so on. At each level of this hierarchy, you're going to start very slowly, and with continued practice trials, move toward normal rate. Now, once you're to the direct imitation and delayed condition, you don't have to be slow usually. Unless they falter, then you would slow it a little bit and then move back to normal rate. But at the simultaneous level in particular, you're going to have to slow it way down and even do it, together with the child. You'll provide tactile cues, gestural cues as needed, and then fade them as soon as possible. At each level of the hierarchy, you're going to start by providing more specific feedback. So knowledge of performance, KP, at first. But you have to fade that as soon as you think the child can handle it so that they don't become dependent on your support. We're going to complete as many practice trials per session as we can. At each level of the hierarchy, when the child is accurate and has achieved and maintained that accuracy, say at the simultaneous level, at normal rate, then you begin to vary prosody.
And I think the most powerful thing about this is that these little learners kind of develop this awareness and this control of their movements. So as you move through the hierarchy, I think one of the things that happens is they develop these tools. I look at your mouth, like I'll say to a 2-year-old, go slow, make it long. And that's one of the most powerful things I've found is giving them that toolbox as well.